like it's new. So we'll welcome you again. Oh, good. We're going to record. Perfect. So my name is Julie Dorsey, and I'm the current chair of the Department of Occupational Therapy, and also a really proud alumni. I know, and it's so great to see so many alumni on this evening's call tonight. So we welcome you to turn your videos on if you're able, if you're in a position where you can and have literally have the bandwidth to be able to do it. We'll see your faces, but also Rory's coming. Oh my goodness, there's so many alums on this call. Oh, it's amazing. Sorry, I got sidetracked and seeing all these awesome names and faces. It's so exciting. So we are so pleased to have, Liz just got a screaming toddler. That's why Jen is on mute. Yeah, it's the time of night that, we all just juggle our multiple roles and our meaningful occupations. And we're so grateful for those of you who are able to carve out a little bit of time tonight to join us again for the fourth week of our inaugural alumni speaker series. So I am a proud alum, as I said, and I never actually thought that I would be in this position as chair of the department when I was a student. And I actually was sort of deemed or voted, whatever you'd want to call it, least likely to be an OT. This is new. I'm improvising here, and you'll hear more of my story over time. But, Mindy can vouch for this, is who had me as a student in her class, and you just never know where life is going to take you, right? But my point is that the Ithaca College OT program does a fantastic job of preparing all of us for those twists and turns in our lives and helping us to be ready for, whatever opportunities are going to present themselves, like, hosting events from my guest room in the middle of a pandemic. Who knew that this is where I'd be? And who knew that we'd be able to have the technology and the ability to welcome all of you from across the country. We've had alums join from different countries, right? Zue's joined us a couple of times from Taiwan, which is really amazing. So we're so grateful for this alumni community and for the chance to welcome everybody virtually together to hear about some of the really innovative things that our alums are doing. So I'll introduce our speaker in a moment when I kind of turn it over to Emma. But let me tell a little bit, just the story of how all this got started and why it's so important to us. Emma and Julia, who are in the top of my screen, not sure where they are for you, but they're two fabulous junior students in our program. And last fall, their interest got piqued in some innovative, non-traditional emerging practice areas, and they really started thinking, wow, we want to learn more. We want to hear more perspectives. We want to hear from more people. There's only so much that can get covered in the curriculum. How can we get this information to students and help enrich the educational experience? So they had a conversation with Jenna, and they blended their amazing vision and their advocacy skills as future OT leaders. And we all chatted sometime in the third week of December or something. They were on break. So that's how committed they were to this. And just a few weeks later, we were launching the Alumni Speaker Series. We joined their vision with the department's vision of strengthening our alumni relations and, again, finding new ways to connect with our amazing alumni community. So we are so pleased that this is the outcome of that, and we look forward to continuing it into the future with new themes and different exciting ways, again, to continue to connect our current students with our alums for these educational opportunities. So we're very grateful for their work and their vision, and we're grateful for all the alums who have taken the time out to join us for this. We've seen 3 sessions already with wide-ranging topics. We have some really exciting topics coming up, including Erica, who's on the call, is going to present in a few weeks about her experiences working with people with traumatic brain injuries in the military and outpatient OT. Larissa's on the call, and she'll be presenting next week, I believe, on her experience, which will kind of dovetail and pick up on what Anna's talking about tonight. She'll be talking about home modifications and some insurance work that she's been doing. We have a NICU panel of 3 alums who work in the NICU in a few weeks. So lots of exciting, wide-ranging topics, and we hope to see you at some upcoming ones. So yes, let me turn it over to Emma. I'm so excited that Emma is going to be moderating for the first time tonight. So we'll give her so much love. Those of you who have been here before know Jenna's been doing the moderating, and she has trained Emma, and we'll turn the reins over to her, who is going to start by talking about some accessibility features for tonight, and then we'll introduce Anna. So again, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm excited to hear what Anna has to say. Heidi, you turned your video on. Hi. I know, it's so exciting. Okay, Emma, over to you.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thanks so much for being here and for all the support on this seemingly hectic night for a lot of people. We really appreciate you carving out the time. It means a lot. First, I'll go over some quick access info, and then I'll give a little bit of an intro to Anna, and then it's all hers. So in terms of access, there should be a button if you click on CC Live Transcript at the bottom of your Zoom window next to Reactions. There you can click either Show Subtitle, which will make captioning appear at the bottom of your screen. And to turn that off, you can click on the CC Live Transcript again and click Hide Subtitle. Or if you want to view the full transcript, you can click View Full Transcript, which will make that appear on the side of your Zoom window. And if you want to simultaneously view the transcript and the chat, you can go to the top of the live transcript window and click on the downward facing caret, which Jenna recently taught us is called a Karen, which is kind of a fun fact. And then press pop out, and you can move that live transcript anywhere on your screen. With the chat feature, the chat is at the bottom of the Zoom window next to the participants button. Similar to the live transcript, if you click on the chat button and then the caret at the top of the chat window, you can choose to pop out the chat and then move that anywhere on your screen that it fits best. We welcome you to use the chat feature throughout the presentation. During the question and answer period, we'll be fielding questions from the audience through video, audio, and the chat. So engage with the technology in whatever way is the easiest for you and feels the best for you. The session will be recorded, and along with a full edited transcript, will be posted to the virtual OT site for current students, faculty, and staff to access. So that's kind of all I have for access. If you have any questions, feel free to also always put that in the chat and one of us will answer that. So on to tonight, we have Anna Grasso here with us. This is our 4th session in the ICOT Alumni Speaker Series, and she will be discussing her work in the area of pro bono work with aging safely in place. Anna Grasso graduated from IC's MSOT program in 2009. She began her career in pediatric practice and then transitioned to working with adults and older adults in 2014. After taking continuing education course related to home modification, Anna volunteered to perform her first home safety assessment with Rebuilding Together Baltimore in response to an advertisement for OT volunteers in 2016. And we already got to hear a little bit about Rebuilding Together in our first session, so this is really exciting because it's an awesome organization. After teaching at Ithaca College for the 2017-2018 academic year, Anna moved to Pennsylvania to teach at Salus University and began volunteering with Rebuilding Together Philadelphia. She received the Certified Aging in Place Specialist designation and also completed the Executive Certificate in Home Modifications course to provide services grounded in evidence and best practice guidelines. Since first partnering with Rebuilding Together Philadelphia in 2019, Anna has performed approximately 75 free home safety assessments. In her current role as Academic Fieldwork Coordinator, Anna has provided fieldwork supervision to nearly 20 Level 1 and Level 2 students in this emerging practice setting. She is currently in her last semester of the Post-Professional OT Doctorate program at Temple University, where her capstone research is titled The Impact of a 2-Visit Consultative Occupational Therapy Home Modification Model on the Occupational Performance of Low-Income Community Dwelling Seniors. Anna will start us off with an interview of her work and experiences, and then this will be followed by a Q&A session where the audience can have a chance to chat directly with her, ask any questions you might have, and engage in any way you feel best. Anna, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to you.
All right. Let me get my screen up here. All right, you can see that okay? All right, so thank you so much for the intro. It's so great to see so many of my former professors / colleagues, and also several students that I got the pleasure of teaching when I returned to Ithaca. So really happy to be here, so thank you. So I have some slides prepared, and if you have any questions in the middle, feel free to jump in and interrupt me. But I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my work with Rebuilding Together Philadelphia. So again, just to kind of reiterate what Emma just said in terms of my background, graduated in '09 from Ithaca, worked across the lifespan, started in peds, wanted to change the scenery, so switched to adults about halfway, about 5 years in. But throughout that time, assistive technology and accessibility have always been kind of a front and center passion of mine. Starting out with my assistive tech class at Ithaca with Kit back in, I don't know, '07 maybe. And I had the opportunity to do a lot with assistive tech throughout my career with the different populations. So what I'm doing now, I consider fairly low tech, but definitely considering that accessibility and environmental match piece. So some of the things that kind of guide what I do, I think that environments can create disability. So if we're able to adapt those environments, we can solve a lot of challenges for individuals and allow them to participate in their valued occupations. I think that everyone should be able to grow old at home if they so choose. If they want to go into a facility where they don't have to worry about mowing their lawn and all of that stuff, great. If they choose to stay home and age as they please, I think that should be an option for everyone. I think homes should be livable and visitable. Visitable, I don't think is a real word, but it's something I learned about in my Certified Aging in Place Specialist course, where your home should be able to be visited by your friends and family who might have some sort of mobility challenge or sensory challenge. And I also think it's really important to be proactive rather than reactive when possible. So trying to address issues that might become bigger problems if they're not solved sooner rather than later. So I did get my CAPS certification in 2019. That's through the National Association of Home Builders, which is a really great class. It's a 3-day course. And it's interesting because there are OTs and PTs in the course, but there's also interior designers and handymen and home builders. So it's a nice interprofessional opportunity to support aging across all these different disciplines. And then I got my executive certificate in home modification through University of Southern California in 2020. So just some additional, training to give me some credentials that can help with my evidence-based practice. And as Emma mentioned, I'm currently in my doctorate program at Temple. Got a lot of things happening right now, but this is the last semester, and I'm excited to wrap up my research, which is on the work that I'm doing with Rebuilding Together. So, as with all good presentations, have to throw in a little bit of literature. So here's a little taste of the home modification lit. So as we know, the percentage of adults over age 65 continues to increase. And with that aging, there's often a decrease in IADL and ADL independence. So what the literature says about OT-led home mods is that we can be a really big support for those who wish to age in place. And these client-centered home modifications have significant improvements on independence and satisfaction with performance in ADLs and IADLs. And home mods have the potential to save money because if you don't have to get formal caregiving services or go into some sort of care facility, you can save a lot of money. So again, that's that proactive approach to prevent the reactive necessity of hiring a caregiver in some cases. There are some studies specifically looking at low-income older adults and home modification, but they're pretty variable. The one that you'll see a lot if you search for home modification literature for low-income adults is a program called Capable, which I believe started at Johns Hopkins in Baltimore and has since expanded across the country. And this program involves 6 visits from an OT along with a nurse and a handyman, which is a great model. They're having really great results. But for me, as someone who's working full-time, doing all sorts of things full-time, I don't really have the ability to do 6 visits with my homeowners. So that's kind of the point of doing my research for my OTD, to look at if just 2 visits can make an impact. So that's what I'm focusing my research on. So as you heard, when Melissa spoke to you in one of the earlier sessions, Rebuilding Together is a fantastic nonprofit organization. They have affiliates across the country. I happen to work with Rebuilding Together Philadelphia. My university, Salis, is just outside of Philly. So this is where I started volunteering. So they serve low-income older adults who meet certain income criteria. And there's an application process and different things that go into homeowners being accepted into the program. But once they're in the program, Rebuilding Together is able to spend approximately $10,000 per home to do renovations. And that might sound like a good chunk of money, but when you think about renovating a roof or plumbing or electrical or a hot water heater and things like that, that money goes really fast. So these are by no means kind of luxury items. These are real basic necessary repairs to make sure everyone is safe and comfortable in their homes. So where OT comes in is when the initial evaluation of the home is performed by the Rebuilding Together staff. They might identify that the homeowner has some sort of mobility challenge. Just usually it's a pretty obvious, disability, or they walk with a cane, or they are in a wheelchair or something where it's not something they're reading the medical chart to determine their necessity. So I have worked a lot with the Rebuilding Together staff to ensure that anybody who could possibly benefit from OT, which really should be everyone, but at least those 65 or older are getting a referral for OT evaluation. So it's myself, and there's another OT who's been with the program for, I want to say, around 10 years. And she's actually on the board for Rebuilding Together Philadelphia. So that just kind of goes to show the value they place on OT services. And Melissa Stutzbach, who's another Ithaca alum, is on this call. She and I and a doctorate student she's working with have been partnering to work on kind of spreading the word about the value of OT with Rebuilding Together, and working on updating some assessment materials to make them more client-centered and things like that. So it's been a nice kind of unexpected partnership with Melissa recently. So, kind of what are my guiding principles when I'm doing these home assessments? So these are kind of the main areas. So safety, of course, is always the first thing I'm looking at. So, what in the environment is not a good fit for that homeowner that's impacting their occupational performance? So what are they potentially going to trip over? Is there clutter in their home? Is the flooring uneven? Is there something, is there a bath mat or a non-slip surface in the bathroom? Do they have reliable handrails on their stairs? Are the stairs themselves safe, or are they broken or uneven or slippery? So those are some of the fall safety things I'm looking at. Electrical issues, a lot of folks have overloaded outlets, or their circuits trip when they plug in their hair dryer or something like that. So just looking for some kind of obvious things. I'm by no means an expert in electrical issues, but some things are pretty obvious to me, and hopefully I can provide some education on that to the homeowner. Lighting is a big thing that a lot of the homeowners I work with don't value very much or don't know a lot about. And again, keep in mind, these are people who are below the poverty line, are very money conscious. So a lot of times I walk into the house and all the lights are off, even when it's kind of dim outside, because they're trying to save energy and save money on their bills. So I'm trying to educate, especially about lighting as it relates to fall prevention. So if they get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, do they have a night light? Do they have something that's lighting their way? Or are they going to trip over the clutter that I saw as I walked into their bedroom? So that's a pretty big thing that I'm looking at. In terms of ergonomics, are they using awkward or unsafe postures to reach into their cabinets or into their laundry machines? And then moving on to comfort, we look at, is it too hot, too cold? If it's too hot, we can recommend things like air conditioners or fans to be installed. Typically it's like a window air conditioner. We're not renovating and putting in central air, but there's some things we can do there. If it's too cold, a lot of homeowners will turn on their oven for heat, or plug in a standalone heater, maybe run by propane or something that might be a carbon monoxide risk. So there's a lot of things where education comes into play with those. And then fatigue prevention is the term that I've started using instead of energy conservation, because when I said energy conservation to homeowners, they said, oh, like my heating bills. That's how they interpret the term energy conservation, because that's the lay terminology for it. So now I focus on fatigue prevention. So if there's a way that I can, set up a chair in their kitchen so they can sit down while they're prepping their meals and things like that. In terms of sustainability, I want to make sure that whatever I'm recommending is a long-term solution and not just a kind of a Band-Aid fix. So I try to avoid anything battery operated because a lot of the homeowners can't replace the batteries because batteries are expensive. And I'm replacing things like suction cup grab bars and clamp-on grab bars because to me, those are very Band-Aid type fixes. And if, heaven forbid they loosen up and the homeowner doesn't know, and then they start to fall and rely on that suction cup grab bar, they're going down. So if I can replace those with a permanently affixed grab bar, that's where I'll go. Let's see. Oh, and for sustainability long-term. So again, thinking about the proactive. So maybe they don't need a shower chair today, but they're 60 years old and they're, they have some medical conditions where I would assume maybe in another, couple of years, they might need a little bit more energy conservation. So we'll look at some fixes that could support them down the road. In terms of health literacy, as I've mentioned, there's a lot of homeowners who are just kind of lacking information about safety, about energy conservation. So what can I recommend to them that will support them long-term? So I have a lot of handouts that I've created or my students have created, and we customize those to our homeowner. So that goes into the client-centeredness. So I'm always looking at each homeowner as their own unique case. So I'm not doing a one-size-fits-all for everybody. I'm not saying throw a shower chair and a grab bar at every single home. It's very client-centered. And especially things like the grab bars, the handyman might know, yeah, sure, a grab bar would be a great idea, but they might not know where to put it. So I look at the homeowner, their body, their ergonomics, where they demonstrate how they step in and out of the shower. So if they're putting their hand in, these two places on the wall, oh, that's probably a pretty good spot for a grab bar. So things that are real centered on what they're doing and what their needs are. I know there's some stuff coming in the chat. Emma, if there's anything that you want me to address, feel free to interrupt me.
We're just saying how awesome you are.
Oh, thanks.
No questions yet, just lots of
that's worth an interruption. I appreciate it.
Yeah, lots of
and just the last thing I want to say about client-centeredness, I'm specifically usually interviewing one member of the home who is typically the primary homeowner, but there's often multi-generational homes. So if I have a homeowner who has trouble getting up from the toilet, for example, I might want to give them a raised toilet seat that adds 4 or 5 inches to the toilet. But then if they have a 3-year-old grandson running around, that grandson might not be able to use the toilet then if I put that 5-inch riser on it. So I might opt to do a grab bar instead. So just kind of keeping in mind those unique considerations for each home. So what does our role look like? So I want to emphasize that this is considered consultative. So I'm not getting a script from a doctor for these evaluations. This is just, referral recommendation from the organization that they think they could use another pair of eyes that has more of a health background to identify the needs in these homes. So when I first meet the homeowners, I do an interview. So I go in not really knowing much about them typically. I might know their age. I might know if they have a wheelchair. Sometimes I don't know any of those things until I get in the door. So I interview the client and find out what the challenges are that they see in their space. I observe the environment, and ideally I observe the client's performance in the environment. So if they're able to give me a tour of the home, I can learn a lot about them just by watching how they move, how they get up and down the stairs. If they can show me getting in and out of the shower, that's all really great knowledge for me. So that I can then come up with a really solid list of recommendations. I review those recommendations with the client because this is a consultation, I'm not prescribing anything, I'm not requiring anything. This is a collaborative conversation. So I'm making sure that whatever I recommend, they agree with, because if they don't, they're not going to use it. So making sure that what I'm recommending, really works with them. And then whatever they agree on with me, I'll then submit that to Rebuilding Together Philadelphia for approval. If it fits within that budget of the $10,000, hopefully it will. Most of the stuff I'm recommending is not, dramatic. I can't, for example, recommend like renovating a whole bathroom or putting a bathroom on the first floor of a home or things like that, because those are just such major renovations that they're not going to fit in the budget. So whatever is approved will either be put on a list for the contractors to follow up on, or given back to me for a second follow-up visit. So I do this 2-visit model where I do the initial assessment and then a follow-up visit where I'm assembling and installing anything portable and what I consider low skill. So if it takes more than like one little screw, then I'm not going to do it. I'm fairly handy, but I'm not going to install the grab bars because I don't need that liability for myself. So shower chairs, reachers, night lights, pretty basic stuff. I'll deliver that and install it for the homeowner. And on that second visit, I'll also bring the customized patient handouts to give them some more education. This is just one example of a checklist that I use and is available for anybody who's interested. This is the Rebuilding Together and AOTA Safe at Home checklist. So it's a 2-sided document. One side has kind of categories of things to look for. And then the back side has the fixes for those issues. So if you say that the person can't open their window, the back will say, what is the suggested kind of fix for that? So just kind of a nice document that's available. You can just Google Rebuilding Together Safe at Home checklist and be able to find this. So these are some of the common things that I'm recommending. Again, nothing wild and luxurious, but really practical things. So grab bars in just about every home, but grab bars in places that you might not expect. So I often put grab bars near stairs. So a lot of people have stairs with a handrail that goes most of the way, but not the whole way. So I might add a grab bar to extend the reach of the handrail. Or I might put a grab bar on the outside of the house. A lot of people have 1 or 2 steps in their door and nothing to hold on to as they're walking up those steps. So maybe I'll stick a grab bar right on the side of the house so they can hold it as they open the door. Shower chairs, sometimes tub benches, depending on the size of the bathroom, raised toilet seats, handrails on the stairs. I'm very commonly recommending even if they have 1 handrail, to add a second one. So that you can use it, with your dominant hand going up and down, or to have 2 hands on the handrail to help with mobility. An all-purpose stool. So that's the picture at the top right of the screen. The white chair is an all-purpose stool that I typically put in the kitchen. So it's kind of like a bar stool height, and it's slightly tipped so that you're not going to sit there and be comfortable all day, but it'll get you in a nice position at your countertop while you're cutting veggies or washing dishes. And it has the handrails to allow you to stand back up easily. So a pretty practical chair. Non-skid tape for tubs and showers. For throw rugs, the picture at the bottom right with the little blue piece is rug gripper tape. So I know we talk a lot in OT school about, get rid of the throw rugs. But a lot of people have throw rugs for a good reason. Maybe their flooring is a little rough underneath, or they need it for, it's cushy while they're standing there washing their dishes, or they just like the way it looks and they're not going to throw it away no matter how much I tell them to. So if you can secure it, that's a good solution. Bed rails are a nice way to help people with bed mobility. Bed or furniture risers, like you might have had in the dorms, to raise up your bed. Those little plastic risers can make it a lot easier for people to get out of their couch or their chair in the living room. Let's see what else. Electrical upgrades are something that I might recommend. Again, I don't really know what I'm recommending, but I know that they need electrical upgrades. So I'll put that on my list. Additional task lighting. So for people who have a lot of medications that they're managing, or they like to read or crochet or knit or something like that. Again, the lighting in these homes is typically pretty bad. So giving them a nice, like, adjustable LED light that they can have next to their favorite lounge chair or next to their bed can help with some of those things. Walkway lighting, again, from the bedroom to the bathroom is the key place that I'm looking for walkway lighting, so to make sure people aren't getting up in a pitch black environment to get to the restroom. Reachers, it's my favorite piece of adaptive equipment. I have one next to my desk in my office, use it probably 3 times a week, because for me, it's because I'm too lazy to crawl on the floor to pick up my pen or whatever. But for a lot of people, it's really helpful to get clothing out of the washer or dryer, or, for people who have back injuries, and, you all learn this stuff in school, but fairly universal tool. So I give them to almost everybody. And a hook for keys. I know that's kind of a random one, but a lot of the homes that I'm working in have key operated deadbolts on usually their rear door. So in order to unlock the deadbolt, you need the key. But most people, when I say, hey, can I look out your back door and see what's out there? They say, oh, let me go get the key. Okay, but if you have a fire or some other emergency and you need to get out that door fast, are you gonna be able to find that key? So I literally screw a little hook in the wall next to the door and tell them to put their key there. So simple fix. And then uncommon recommendations. I told one person to put jingle bells on her cat because she kept tripping over the cat when it was a black cat. So, a cushion to build up your seat in the living room, again, to help with mobility. And then things like stair glides, ramps, and lift chairs are really high price items, but are super beneficial for the right person. So there are other organizations in Philadelphia that have a budget for those higher price pieces of assistive technology. So I'll provide that information if I think it's a really necessary item for that person. Some of the challenges, the budget, money is always a challenge. So like I said, the $10,000 sounds good in the front, but it goes really fast. So not all the recommendations I want to make are possible. A lot of the homes that I'm in has one bathroom on the second floor, and there's stairs to get in the front door and stairs to get up to the second floor. So, having a first floor setup would be lovely, and also maybe a platform lift to get them in the front door. But again, those are just significant budget limitations. With COVID, got to talk about COVID, just got it, right? Significantly longer wait time. So previously, I would say it was about a 6-week turnaround from assessment to work being done. Maybe a little bit longer if I caught them, real early in the year. But Rebuilding Together typically relies on 1,000 volunteers a year, and those are usually chunked into block builds where like a whole block worth of renovations will be done in a weekend by these volunteers. And because of COVID, we haven't been able to do that. So every single piece of work is being done by contractors. So it's a lot longer wait time to get the modifications in place. Time, of course, is a challenge for this. So I'm not getting paid to do these assessments. And like Emma said, I've done about 75 of them in the 2 years I've volunteered. So it's a big time commitment. And during COVID, I actually moved to the Poconos. So now I have to get to Philly and then do the home assessment. So it's, a bigger challenge with that, but it's really valuable. And, the more OTs we can get to volunteer for this type of thing, the easier it'll be to work those recommendations in. And then homeowner buy-in. So it's often the case when I show up that people are a little bit leery of me and don't really know why I'm there. As you all know, occupational therapy is not a household name for most people. And anytime somebody's coming in your house and telling you that, you can have some stuff for free, you're probably going to be like, yeah, but what's the actual cost of this, or what's the catch? So I have to be, I have to kind of sell what I'm doing and make sure that they believe me. So it usually takes a couple minutes, but they all tend to be pretty grateful at the end. So the joys of home modification, these free assessments, the simple modifications really do make a huge impact. So the nice thing that's happening with my research for my doctorate is I'm doing follow-up surveys to see how their scores changed on the COPAM. So I'm using the COPAM as my outcome measure. So I do a pre and a post COPAM, and I'm seeing a lot of people say, I couldn't get in and out of the bathtub at all before, and now I don't need my daughter to help me get in and out of the bathtub. Or, now I can pick up my blanket when it falls off the bed because you gave me that cool little reacher. So there's lots of simple things that make a really big impact. And the homeowners are always very grateful when the work is actually done and done well. And it's interesting, I'm working in Philly where these homes are very old. So there's some really fascinating features of the homes. Some things, I don't know what that button on the wall does, but it looks cool. And then the homeowners themselves are super resourceful. These individuals are very low income, and yet almost everyone I meet is doing something for somebody else regularly. They're making meals for their neighbors, or they're, hosting church groups in their living room or whatever. So they're always doing things above and beyond, what you might expect for somebody who is struggling financially. And then creative problem solving and individualized recommendations. This quote, I feel like an OT, is something that a lot of my students say after they do these assessments, because it's, you're like, oh yeah, I just need to add that little chain to make them, be able to reach their overhead fan. Oh, that's easy, but it, solved their problem, and now they can do that activity that they needed to do. So some very rewarding work. Just a couple pictures of me and some of my students. These pictures are from the block build where we deliver all the equipment in a weekend. So this is not a typical, any day, but so you see all the shower chairs, grab bars, reachers, lights, lots of different things that we then deliver to the homes. And this is a different block build with some different students. Same general thing. Here's a couple students. So these ones were installing a grab bar, but the contractor was literally over my shoulder as I took the picture. So they were in good hands. And yeah, if you are interested in this, I do think that this is work that any OTs can do. We're trained very well to assess the environment and the person and the fit or lack of fit with that relationship. So even if you don't have specialized training in home modifications, you still have the eye to do this type of work. The trainings are great and they're helpful. The CAPS in particular, I think was very helpful for me. And again, that was a 3-day training. So it's not like I went to school for a year to get certified. So I think anybody, if they're interested, should reach out to your local affiliate. They're all over the country, and they'd probably really appreciate having you. So yeah, that's my pitch. Let me stop my share here. If you do have questions, feel free to email me. That's my office number, but email is easier for me to get back to you. Any questions?
Yeah, thank you so much. That was amazing.
I just want to say, oh, sorry. I just want to say it's so great to see you, Anna Yanner.
So good to see you, Mindy.
That was fantastic.
Thanks.
Thank you for sharing. And
happy to do it.
I love the bean, in your house there.
Oh, this is my mom's house. I'm seeing my mom for the first time in a year. Yeah, I got vaccinated 2 weeks ago, so I came home today and gave mom a hug.
Oh, so. How are the dogs?
Good. There's 3 now. She's training a service dog, or plans to. We'll see. The dog's still a little wild, but yes.
All right. Sorry for the sidebar. That was fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you.
Julie, can I put that on my professional development plan?
Sure, we'll count, Anna.
I want to do that.
Yeah, you got it. All right, we'll turn it over to Emma. Bring it home, Emma.
I was gonna say, I echo everything in the chat. I think we should start a Rebuilding Together Ithaca. I would do my field work there. But yeah, that was absolutely amazing. Thank you. If anyone has any questions, feel free to hop in and ask or put them in the chat. But while everyone's marinating and processing, one thing that really, there were a lot of things that stood out to me, but one of the things you said was who can benefit from OT? Everyone. And that sums it up. I feel like that's why we're here. There's so many populations that I feel like people don't think OT has a place in. And I think you really just showed that OTs can help anyone in so many different ways. So thank you for that. And then another thing that kept coming up for me personally was kind of the blending of cultural competence and interprofessional development. And I feel like we're talking about that in a lot of our classes. And, you know, even changing your language from energy conservation to fatigue prevention, you know, just making those fine-tuned little changes and recognizing the differences and sort of the cultural nuance. And then also with that, recognizing your own boundaries and when you need to refer out. It made me think of previous speaker series with Kelsey referring out to chiropractors and other types of doctors. So lots of interconnections, and I'm making so many connections to my classes right now. Like Dr. Scott would be so proud in applied occupations. But yeah, those things definitely kept coming up for me. And it's really cool to see all the connections between previous speaker series and this one. But yeah, if anyone has any questions, please feel free to ask or put in the chat. Yeah.
I can jump in. So, well, people are thinking about questions because I'm sure Anna would rather hear questions from our current students. But Anna, what advice would you give for our current students about, you know, things you wish you could have told yourself when you were a student in the program, I don't know, over 10 years ago, however long you were there when you were, I think, my first year teaching. So what do you want to tell them? Here's an opportunity to give them some advice.
Yeah, I mean, I think all OT students, maybe not all, but a lot of OT students go into school kind of with a path in mind, or, you know, a plan. You know, I want to be a pediatric OT, or I want to work in, you know, acute rehab or whatever. But I think it's really important to keep an open mind about that. And, you know, I honestly don't remember what I thought I was going to do when I was in school. But like I said, I started out in pediatric practice, did that for a few years, worked in several settings for peds, and then decided, you know what, I want to be able to have a, you know, conversation and, you know, connect with my patients in a different way. So I started working with adults, and it wasn't as easy a transition as I would have hoped, I guess. I did have to get a PRN job on my resume before I could get a part-time or full-time job with with adults. But it was definitely possible, and making sure that, you know, I told them how, you know, how passionate I was about, you know, working with different populations. It worked. And then, you know, then I started teaching. So I've kind of been all over the map in the what, 12 years now since I've been out of school. And I think that's just something to keep in mind. You don't have to know what you want to do. I still don't really know what I want to do. You know, fieldwork is crazy, so maybe not fieldwork forever, who knows? But yeah, I think it's the opportunities are really endless. And I think it's a good thing to keep in mind that even if you don't love your job, you know, you're definitely not stuck there. Or if you do, build on it and see what else you can do with it. There's so many ways to expand from a traditional into an emerging setting even, which I think is really, really something we're picking up on a lot now, because we've had to be super creative this year. But I think it'll stick. And I think these emerging practice settings are going to be kind of the future of our profession, and will let us become that household name that we haven't been yet.
I know I had a question kind of come up when you were talking, and that you often have to advocate to your clients. I was just wondering, like, kind of how do you do that? You know, like you show up at someone's house and you're like, I'm here to help you. Could you kind of like walk through a little bit how you advocate to people in different populations?
Yeah, I mean, I always start out with my little, you know, what is OT pitch, and try to gauge, you know, their understanding of the profession to start. And it's usually oh, well, you'll help me get a job, but I'm retired, so I don't need you. Kind of that conversation happens first. But then when I get into, no, you know, we're looking at everything you do during your day, you know, like walk me through your routine and tell me, you know, where in that routine you're having challenges. And, it'll be, well, first thing, I can't get out of bed because, it's hard for me to roll over or whatever. Like, oh, well, I actually have something I could give you that would help with that. I can give you a bed rail and that would help you get out of bed first thing. And when I start kind of giving those solutions to their problems, I guess, or the suggestions to things that they thought they would just always struggle with forever, and I can say, no, I can give you something for that for free. I think that kind of catches them and they're like, oh, okay, like this, I want you to stay longer. Like I was trying to kick you out first, but now you can stay. So I think it's just showing them the value of something they didn't know even existed. And again, I'm not doing revolutionary recommendations here, but oh, you can't bend over to pick up your cell phone when you drop it. Let me get you a reacher, or, things like that. So I think it's just showing them that there are things that can be changed about their environment that aren't going to get in the way or, change the whole look of the room or anything like that, but that will make their lives a lot easier and maybe let them not have to rely on somebody else quite as much.
I had kind of a question. So, is volunteering something that you have to be like already certified OT, or is that something you can do while you're in school?
That's a good question, Jess, and it's nice to see you. I would say for rebuilding as a general volunteer, anybody can do it. So, to do the home safety assessments, I would say they're probably going to want somebody who's a licensed OT to do the full assessment process, but anybody can volunteer. So you can volunteer to just join one of the block builds when those open back up again. And they'll assign you to a house and there will be somebody there who's like a skilled leader to tell you how to do the repairs. You don't need to show up knowing everything there is to know about, home renovation or anything like that. So they're looking for volunteers who don't know, how to open a paint can, let alone install flooring or something like that, because those are pretty easy things to teach. And in terms of, while you're a student, I think it's definitely worth, talking to fieldwork coordinators about, are there opportunities to partner with an organization like Rebuilding? So, if I know there's not one in Ithaca, but there might be one in upstate New York somewhere else, I'm not really sure. So maybe it's a situation where, you could partner, because it is emerging practice. We do the home modifications, maybe 8 hours a week total. And the rest of the time is writing the reports and researching other solutions and resources for the community. So, definitely an opportunity for fieldwork to tie in these type of programs, and even not just Rebuilding. That's the one I'm familiar with, but I think Habitat for Humanity would be another good opportunity to partner. Dogs are having a party upstairs all of a sudden. Okay. All right, I think it's okay. But yeah, organizations like Habitat are another one that I think would be a good opportunity to reach out and see, hey, I know this about environmental assessment. I understand how to figure out if somebody in their environment is safe or if they need some recommendations. Could you use somebody like me to help your organization for free? Especially if you throw in the for free part, people are more likely to want you around.
I've often wondered, we have a local organization called Ithaca Neighborhood Housing Services, I think is what it's, INHS. And it sounds like a similar type. I mean, I think it's just for Tompkins County, but I've often thought like there could potentially be a role for OT there. I was just trying to do a little search for Rebuilding Together, and looks like the closest one is in Olean, which I can't really figure out where that is, but I think it's quite a trek. But what you missed in the comments was Melissa saying, let's make an affiliate in Ithaca, and we're all like, yes, let's make it happen.
Yeah, she's the one to help you do it. So
exactly, we had some conversations about it because Yeah, there you go. Jenna put the INHS in there, and I think they really focus on doing full rebuild of homes for low-income families, and bringing them up to everything from energy efficiency, but then I think they have some focus on making sure that people can get in them and be accessible, but I'm not sure that they've ever had OTs necessarily.
Yeah, I'd be interested to know like who the person is who's the expert on making it accessible. Because I think a lot of people do say that they, work on accessibility, but they don't really know what that means. So, organizations like the area agencies on aging are another good partnership that, Ithaca could maybe reach out to and see, is there an opportunity here for an internship for, students to support, because sometimes those will provide funding for home mods too.
Yeah, I think they also do loans for first-time home buyers and try to do that. I'm not quite sure how they get funding, but something we can do if any students are interested in, looking at something local until we can figure out how to get Rebuilding Together partnership.
Yeah.
I have a quick question. Hello.
Hi.
Anna. Have you guys been able to do any virtual assessments or like intake questions before you get into their home because of COVID, or just for availability purposes?
So we haven't ended up using virtual, but as part of my research, I did amend my IRB so that if I needed to do virtual, I could, and that was approved. So that was kind of like a backup plan, but basically there was a pause for our assessments for probably about 3 or 4 months, like April through the summer. And then they allowed us to come back in again. So we just kind of paused. And, we did shift. I used to bring 2 students with me. Now I only bring 1. So, we have kind of shifted a little bit, and, everybody has to sign a policy saying, you'll mask up and stuff like that. But we haven't done virtual, but I think it could work. I do think that having like the contractor FaceTime me in as they walk around the house, and I can tell them, oh, can you like zoom in on that so I can look at that a little closer, or,
right. Or let me see the client get in and out of.
Yeah. I definitely think that's an option. And that could be another option for, even if you don't have an affiliate in Ithaca, for, students or something, to partner with an affiliate who's willing to do virtual. So virtual everything, I think, is an untapped opportunity.
Yeah, that's definitely something I'm trying to get off the ground where I work. Because I definitely see value in, this is the transition back home, but we can't go into your home. Can you video yourself walking through? So yeah.
Or even, at a bare minimum, having them take pictures of all their rooms, and just so you can kind of see. But video would be nice for that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Erica Larissa said in the chat to text her after she has some ideas for you.
Oh, okay, great.
This is why we get together.
Thanks.
It's wonderful. Let's see, maybe have time for another question or so, or we can turn it over to Emma to bring it home, wrap it up.
Yeah, if no one has any more thoughts, that's all good. I know in my mind, I'm just thinking about my field works now and I have research to do after this for things like this in Ithaca. So I can't say thank you enough. This was so amazing and so interesting. And I'm really grateful to have heard your presentation. So just a quick reminder for everybody that a transcript will be provided on the virtual OT Sakai site. If you don't have access to that and you need that recording, just contact us and we'll figure out a way to get it to you. We'll be here next week, same time, for a discussion with Larissa, which is exciting. And again, kind of in a similar vein as this. And we'll be getting out our March schedule very soon as well. We have some really interesting topics coming up again, like Julie mentioned in the beginning. That's kind of all for us. Thank you so much again for being here. If you have any questions, please always feel free to reach out to us. Thank you so much, Anna, for your time. We really, really appreciate it. And have a great night, everybody.
Thank you.
And let's give it up for Emma for her amazing moderating skills. Nice job. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. We really appreciate it. If anyone wanted to stay on for a few minutes to chat, we'll keep the link open. Thanks.
Great to